Welcome everybody to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement. We like to give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is Season 1 of Secret Level on Amazon Prime. And here to unlock those secret levels with me, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch, we broke the high score.
We're gamers.
We are gamers, and we have unlocked the secret level, which I'm actually excited to talk about. How far back did they announce this? Was it only like a year?
Yeah,
I feel like it was relatively recently.
Right, I don't think it was kind of like announced, went away for 4 years,
right,
came back.
Like a real video game would.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, this is from Tim Miller, who, if you don't know, is famous for a few number of things, but in parallel to this, it's Love, Death, and Robots, which is an anthology series about those three things. Right. All animated series, shorts about...
I did not realize he was involved in that. That's cool. That makes total sense.
Yeah. So this is like the same thing, except, hey, we're doing video games. That's the theme, video game worlds.
And let's start off with the most famous video game, Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
I actually really liked that episode.
I did too.
Again, I was like, kind of weird we're starting with Dungeons and Dragons. Right. I can get the Baldur's Gate 3 connection. Maybe we should. They almost should have like after that.
That would have made a bit more sense
because
to me.
Baldur's Gate is a D&D game, right, but like D&D is its own thing. I was like, I think on my way home like last night, I was like, you know what? Like when it comes to D&D, video game is probably like fourth on like the
idea of what that is.
Right.
Yeah. That's I totally agree. But I do think the episode was fun. I will agree with that. Yeah.
Real quickly before we get into the rest, do we want to go level by level? Do we want to go episode by episode? Because originally, when I was taking notes on these episodes, I was like, maybe it would be conducive to do that. And then I started taking less and less notes. So I have notes for like the first 5, like kind of like in depth, but nothing that's really like I'm going to go over.
I don't think we need to necessarily go in depth to each one, but we can kind of speak to each one and just go down the list.
I think that makes sense because I think talking about them all generally wouldn't.
And I just don't think we're going to be able to, because some of these range from 9 minutes long each to like 20 or so. Yeah. So, and some of them are definitely more in depth than others. I think Dungeons and Dragons felt like one of the more in depth ones to me. Definitely.
Yeah, I really liked it. Like I felt like I got like a quick like inside of like a campaign.
Right.
We had like a bunch, like a typical like diverse party: a human paladin, dwarf monk, halfling wizard, or sorcerer, orc druid, and then we got to see like Tiamat, which is a D&D god. And like that boy's a human clerk. Just really epic. Wanted to see more. Really enjoyed it personally.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought the world looked really great. I thought the CG was great. Most of the CG is great in all of these, so I think they did a really good job. And took their time in that regard.
I think Love, Death, and Robots usually like they always go for the photorealistic look,
right?
But like there are some that are just like vastly different.
Sure.
And for the most part, Secret Level stays in that photorealistic or Pixar style.
Yeah, there's one like kind of cell shaded one too, right? Am I mistaken? I felt like there was one of those. Maybe it was
like the Spelunky one and the Mega Man one.
I feel like it was
have
Spelunky.
Like a Pixar-ish look,
right,
to them.
But can we talk about Mega Man though?
Maybe Sifu is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, that's true, because that looks exactly
which
like
is next, but.
And that actually looks exactly like the style of the game, which I thought really worked. I thought Sifu was good.
I was really disappointed in it.
Really,
it just felt like a trailer for the game. It felt like this could have been like the cinematic first look trailer for it. Like it didn't really like I haven't played Sifu, but like it didn't really seem to be adding to it. It's like this is what Sifu is.
So that's the second level of the game. Is when you go to the nightclub and you take down that guy with a staff. So I think this is just more of like a cinematic retelling of it. I liked the look of it. I liked a lot of the fighting in it. I did like how he kept dying and seeing that mechanic in action. But it was a shorter one with not much story going on. He's just kind of going after this guy you can assume, I assume you could assume with not much knowledge. Like, all right, he took down his master. He's going on a revenge mission. But I did like that moment when he walks back to the like woman at the food counter and she like realizes it's him. But again, there's not a ton to dive into there narratively. Other than that, though, New World, I don't even really remember this one.
New World is Amazon's MMO that came out a few years ago.
I see.
This is the one with Schwarzenegger as the king, and he goes to a tournament. I really like this one. That was
actually fun.
I thought it was like, okay, photo real, it's going to be serious. No, it's like a total comedic tone. I really kind of enjoyed it because it's like the king's like kind of a dick.
Right.
And then he kind of like gets humbled a little bit as like, you know, the ruler of Eternum like is like this guy is like a fucking joke, and it becomes like a Dark Knight, gets all this power for like pretty much nothing.
No reason, he just keeps still getting shit on. It's funny, I did forget about that in Arnold. What a poll for
Patrick Schwarzenegger is in something else as well.
That's right. I thought I recognized him as one of the dudes. I can't remember what episode, but I definitely did notice
he's in
that.
as well. Yeah.
That was definitely a fun episode.
I'm curious to know how many voiceover roles Schwarzenegger has done. And it can't be too many, like just voiceover.
Yeah, probably not. Probably you could count them on one hand. I'd assume, actually, like if you were to talk about like full-fledged roles rather than like
and
maybe
he
some
like
side things.
I could tell it was Schwarzenegger
immediately,
but he definitely kind of got into the role. Like it didn't really feel like him.
No, definitely. It was very good.
And
work
I feel like
him.
in the movies you do see Schwarzenegger is kind of hard to disassociate that you're watching like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
100%,
you know,
because it's Schwarzenegger. Yeah,
especially
with that
in
voice.
this time where he's old and he's like, I'm old. I'm old Schwarzenegger.
I'm going on podcasts. No, that was a bad Arnold. But that was really good. The Unreal Tournament one, I will say, stuck out to me a lot.
Really?
So,
okay, good. Because I was fucking elated with this
I
one.
thought it was... I don't know much about Unreal Tournament. I've heard of it, obviously, before. It's a pretty old game, right? Because that's where Unreal Engine comes from, right?
Unreal, the first one is like an FPS story game, like Doom. And then in 99, they started Unreal Tournament, which was just the multiplayer suite. So like the story is essentially this like company called Leandri is a mining company, and they basically start like a game of like deathmatch to like bring in money and like essentially like entertainment. Like that's the like the original story behind Unreal Tournament.
Interesting.
So you get to see a lot of that where like the bots come from a Leandri mining facility. You see a lot of the guns from the game, like the impact hammer, the flak cannon, minigun, the Redeemer, rocket launcher, sniper, all that shit. A lot of some of the characters, like Malcolm, are in the episode, like the Scourge as well, like those alien looking people. You see in like maybe the second or third match the robots do, and the announcer like double kill.
Yeah, it's all spot on.
It
was fun.
One of the maps was probably the most famous Unreal map, called Two Worlds, which is basically like two towers, and then there's like two paths that sort of like circle like an infinity symbol, and it's like in space. Like one of the maps looked like that. I was like, there was like a nod to somebody camping with a sniper.
Yeah, she was like, "Stop camping, get out there," or something like that.
I really enjoyed it. Like, again, I feel like the Unreal property as being like in the Wolfenstein, Doom,
in that trinity almost.
Yeah, that FPS sort of realm is the one that really has not gotten any love because Epic is doing Fortnite.
Well, and that birthed like Unreal Engine, right?
Yes,
like,
that's where the name comes from.
That's what I thought. All right.
I mean, like, like it's like Tim Sweeney is only there, like, you know, Tim Sweeney has nothing to do with anything probably Epic does in terms of like game design, but like he created the Unreal Engine,
right?
You know, he was like the brainchild, where Cliff Bleszinski was the guy making the games,
right.
Tim Sweeney was the mind behind,
like the technical mind, right?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. I will say though, this next one, the Warhammer 40K episode, was really fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of dialogue. This one takes place after Space Marine 2?
I thought it was before, but I'm not fully
I remember
aware.
Hearing about that, but
because
like,
it is
Titus
one of the Titus
Yeah.
is in it. He's in Space Marine 2.
All action, no dialogue.
Like probably 2 lines of dialogue total. It was just a feast for the eyes. Them taking out all the Terminid hordes and shit like that. Or no, they're not Terminids. What are they? That's Helldivers. But that moment where he just pulls out the axe and they're just walking very slowly, trudging along, and then they just take on the hordes of these fucking monsters, and they're on this weird Mad Max world.
Yeah,
it was very cool, very striking imagery. I am very curious as to how they're going to bring that to live action. If I'm truly honest, like we know that Henry Cavill's series has been pushed forward with Amazon.
Yeah,
so that's going to be interesting. And I mean, after seeing it just in this light, I'm curious to see how it's done. And I'm in, but like it seems like an incredibly over the top world that I'm like, bringing this to live action is going to be a challenge for sure. I think, but I think not that they can't do it, but
yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, if they did Fallout, you know, I know it's not the same teams per se.
Not even necessarily team. I just think Fallout's a bit it's a bit simpler to do, and in the ways of like. You don't have these guys. I mean, I guess you do have the hulking armors with the
power armor,
with the power armor, but I mean, the idea would be that would be the entire show though, and having guys in that the whole time, and you have these huge sprawling settings, and even when they go into that, like when he gets the first orders and he's sitting around his like computer, and there's all these candles lit around him, and it's all very religious and gothic looking. It's a very cool world design, and I'm interested to see more for sure.
What did you think of the Pac-Man one? I really like the idea of like, hey, simple game like Pac-Man, and they're making a game out of this, and they're kind of like taking it to a level like you probably never could have thought of on your own. Like I just think it's kind of interesting what they're doing.
I'm all for like Pac-Man's been around so long. Yeah,
right.
Fuck around with it, do anything. I did feel like the episode itself was a little short, and like I was like, oh, okay, we're in and we're out. I see what you're kind of trying to do here. It's this weird like dystopian thing, and like, oh, Pac-Man's actually maybe not the good one anymore. But I don't know. It didn't really resonate with me that much, but I do appreciate an attempt at something different.
Crossfire, I think, is where it all starts going downhill. I thought this was like really kind of boring. Like it was just like typical military. Like they're fighting over an asset, which is a guy with a briefcase, and like that's it. Yeah. You know, like I just didn't really jive with it, and I didn't really jive with Armored Core either.
Oh, really?
For some reason, like nothing about it grabbed me, and I think I started getting negative on the show. So like after this, it all kind of started
I'm trying to think.
declining for me.
I think Armored Core, and we'll get to Outer Worlds. Those were the highlight for me of the middle section.
Patrick Schwarzenegger was in this.
That's right.
And Tamara Morrison and Keanu.
So I actually really like this because I really don't know much about like Armored Core, even from just playing the last game. I don't know that much about it. You don't see the pilots at all in that game. Like it's just all Armored Core stuff. Yeah. So I thought it was interesting to get that aspect, and Keanu, I felt did a fine job. And that moment when he crushes that dude's skull, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting and fun, but again, not a lot to bite into. For sure.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like, sometimes it's like, I'm starting from like a place of, I don't really care about Crossfire or Armored Core. So it's like, I think it takes a little bit more to hook me in and like get me interested. And it's like, you know, I think the idea of the show is to kind of get people interested in games in general, but also the games they're showcasing. Right. So it's like, if they're not doing that necessarily, maybe kind of like.
So I would say Armored Core has a leg up for me in the way of visuals. Like, did you not think that the episode was like kind of visually kind of wild? At least more than. So that's where I think it won me over a bit more.
Not every episode can just be about the visuals, right? Even though
100%, 100%, and I think that's very fair. I guess that's like when you have one episode that I found boring and one episode that was a little bit more boring on the narrative side, but at least had good visuals. That steps it up for me a little bit.
What'd you think about the Outer Worlds episode?
I actually really liked this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like it
really did. And you're following this guy who's trying to meet this girl that he really liked. She got off world, and he signs up for a testing facility. What was the name of the company? Anti-Cleo, which I will say, you know, I have some gripes with Outer Worlds, but I think overall we both, you know, mostly enjoyed that game. And I think one of the strong suits of that game is the world it built and just this kind of weird and wacky, like, super capitalistic society. So I think that they played up on that very well. And then, you know, by the end, was she fucking with him?
No.
So was she like genuinely remorseful?
I couldn't tell.
So, because that's what was confusing me there. So like the girl he's going after ends up, you know, being very smart, and she becomes the new Anti-Cleo, and she's the reason why all these terrible tests have been taking place on him. And then he's going to go, you know, talk about corporate malfeasance, because of course you should, Gooch. If you know about corporate malfeasance, you need to tell your superior officer. And then she, like, it's her, and she apologizes. And again, I that was the only part of that where I was like, what was exactly, like, the outcome here? Like, is it just going to continue? And I think that was it, but either way, I thought it was very good.
The Mega Man one was the one with, like, this is really cool, but, like, wow, that was a cock tease.
I mean, it was all set up and no payoff.
Like, it was, like, 6 minutes.
I think it was not, I think 8 minutes. It was literally like his first moment of destroying a monster or like a robot.
Yeah, and becoming Mega Man. And we're not Mega Man fans.
Suits up. But like, and I was like, oh, this is cool. What are we getting into? Oh, episode's over. Okay.
Yeah. This is like one where, like, I don't know if Love, Death, and Robots has done sequel episodes, but I was like, that's one where it's like, you should probably do another in season 2, which we are getting.
Or just make it long. Like, I don't know, make a Mega Man already. Like, it just felt like a weird angle to attack with it. You know what I mean? Like,
I felt the angle was fine, but it just wasn't enough.
you need more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that is the problem of the I wouldn't have mind the origin angle if we got a little bit more than just he suits up. It's like, cool. Thanks, guys. Exodus. What'd you think about this one?
Pretty cool.
I thought so too. Actually,
I know this is a new IP. This is the one that McConaughey debuted on the Game Awards.
A bunch of like Mass
ago.
Effect folks are working on it apparently, and like one of the head writers and stuff. It feels incredibly Mass Effect coded, I will say.
Yeah. In a way.
I guess just looked like the ships.
It feels a little bit more mature than Mass Effect.
Oh, for sure. I guess more just stylistically, like the super slim suits. His ship that he's getting fixed at the beginning of the episode looks very Normandy-ish. But I really like this idea that they're tackling with this game, apparently, with the time dilation mechanic, and this idea that this father, his daughter runs away, and she wants the life of adventure, so she gets aboard this ship that goes off, and he's trying to catch up with her and find her. But due to time dilation, it's been 10 years since he's seen her, but it's been 54 years for her.
At the end, it's like 80.
And like you're like, oh fuck, this is a very interesting idea that it's an interstellar, and a few other piece of media, I'm sure. But I don't feel like a lot of things deal with time dilation in this way, specifically,
especially in games.
Yeah,
for sure, yeah.
So I think this could be really cool, and I thought the episode itself was awesome. Do you know about like the mechanic of the game? The idea apparently, like,
not really. I haven't really looked into it at all.
I guess the idea is you're a traveler, which she ends up being in this episode, and their purpose is to go out into the universe and find really advanced alien technology to bring back to their human civilization. And it's a very perilous job though because of time dilation. You'll go out and you'll get stuff and come back and it'll be 50 years. And apparently a big mechanic of the game will be bringing back stuff and then going out on new expeditions, and then you'll come back 50 years later and you'll see how that affects your homeworld, and it will affect it differently based on the choices you make and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that sounds pretty cool to me, and I do think that this episode did a very good job of getting me interested in the game personally.
Yeah, I mean that's the job of the episode, right?
For sure.
Especially with an episode with a game that's not even out,
Totally new IP,
which we'll get to that in about 2 episodes.
Right.
Spelunky.
Washed over me. I don't remember it at all.
Yeah. It's like the roguelike mechanic, and she's like a young adventurer, keeps dying, keeps going.
Right. And she's like, this is what it's about.
Well.
Yeah.
Right. Conquered.
It was fine.
It was like funny. It was just really funny to watch this, and it's been like, this seemed like one of those animations that they were doing or going to plan weekly that they like took out and maybe made an episode of this out of. Which I think Blur was doing those.
They had a bunch cocked. Yeah, ready to go. Yeah.
I mean, like, this had to have been one of those.
So I was surprised. I really didn't hate it as much as I expected to.
Yeah, I think the hated of it part of it is just like, like this game literally died within 2 weeks. Like, and there's an episode about it. Like, it feels stupid.
It is, yeah. It does. It feels like redundant almost. And I actually like the idea of the story that they are like, they're Guardians of the Galaxy Light, sure. But they are trying to steal this information from, I guess, the Trades Guild, which runs the entire universe and mapped out every single trade route. So they're the only people who know the safe travel routes throughout the universe. And they're like, we're going to steal this and make money. And then they get caught, and they're like, you know what, fuck it. Since we're going to get caught anyways, we're shooting these out to everyone. Space is open for everyone. I was like, and then they dive into some nebula or something. You don't know if they die. I was like, that actually is an interesting idea. And I mean, they're definitely drawing on Dune and stuff with like the guilds and they're running these trade routes and things like that. But I don't know. I was actually kind of surprised at how interesting I found that idea. But again, just the designs.
You'll never see it again.
You'll never see it again. And the designs of the characters really are the problem for me.
Yeah, they did all look like, here's the black girl with that hairstyle.
Right.
With
and
the
then
bandana.
Here's just like another.
Here she is. Great.
And it's just a lot of boring, like bland, bright colors. And just the overall aesthetic of that game, I really do think was its major downfall. Sadly. Or not sadly, I don't know. So Honor of Kings, huge. This one, I was like, what the fuck
it's a mobile game.
That's what it is?
It's like a NetEase mobile game.
It was pretty cool.
I was really bored.
I was kind of confused. Like, and my girlfriend and I were watching it together, and we were like, this is kind of trippy and weird. And I guess that in and of itself kind of kept me interested. But if you asked me to tell you what the story was, I couldn't in a million
I think
years.
It got really confusing.
Right, yeah.
Very quickly. And I was like, again, washed over me. Don't care about this game or IP. I was like, and I'm ready just to see the PlayStation episode, which is our last episode, the 15th episode, which was a shit show.
Can I say that it was? I actually think it was the worst episode.
Oh, hands down,
like easily.
This is the one side of Sony which is like, you'd never see Xbox do something like this, but for some reason Sony does this kind of shit, and it always just feels kind of cringy and weird and gross. Like
it's weird that they didn't just do a God of War episode or like a different, I don't know, like
anything else?
Just one of their games. Just give it a full episode. Right. It was this weird commercial for Sony.
Yeah.
This whole episode.
Yeah,
like,
and it was
I don't
like
know.
Ready Player One, where like Kevin Hart's the robot, and
and it was
like,
almost
real
like
life's a game.
It was like Free Guy too, like where she has the glasses on and you see all the shit around, and like it's all like the open world shit. It just was such an odd and stupid choice to me that like that again. This is the idea, is to get people to play their games, and I don't think Sony has a problem that they need people to play a lot of their games, but still. I don't know. What if it was an Astrobot episode or something like that? Or even like, there's so many different...
I think like that's the avenue that should have been taken,
right.
Especially
like,
if you wanted to do it. It's like,
that.
Okay, we want to include a bunch of different IPs. Well, you just won Game of the Year with, I mean, I know this was made beforehand.
Sure. Yeah,
right, but like Astrobot was coming out. We all knew that. And
it just feels like such a better opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one that would immediately win people over.
Right. I don't know. A very odd choice. Yeah, you're just following around this weird courier girl, in this like GTA Free Guy type open world, and she's delivering packages, and you see like
it's a real city.
It's a real city. You see Helldivers, and then Kratos is just sitting on a park bench for some reason, and then all these people are just chasing her, and she has this weird blob monster that saves her, and then she's awakened from the Matrix gooch. She's out of the system. She has her own weird blue goop that helps her, and then that's it.
Yeah, it felt weird.
It was weird and terrible.
Like, again, I think like the good episodes are stacked in the front, and it just gets worse as we go.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm trying to think. So
you get about halfway through, and then the last like 7 are kind of,
Yeah, it's funny. I think you're right. I think Exodus is the strongest one from the back half for me. Not even a question. Because and Outer Worlds and Armored Core were pretty strong for me too. In the back like 7 or 8. But yeah, aside from that, Gooch, I agree, man.
I mean, I'm not gonna act like these anthology shows are something I'm like really thinking about afterward. Like even Love, Death, and Robots. Like I watch them and I'm like having a good time, but I'm not like I don't remember all of them
for sure. Yeah,
even now. So, well, maybe a little bit different because I remember the games that were in it. Like, I think I liked what was here, but I also think it could have been done better. Like, I feel like they're like maybe we get like better IP in there. Like, what if we had a Dragon Age one or a Mass Effect one or like Red Dead? I don't know. Like, I feel like getting in like at least 6 to 7 like already established very good IPs. Like, and not everything in here is. I'll be honest. I'll be honest.
I don't think it needs
Pac-Man,
to be.
sure. D&D, sure.
Famous video game.
Unreal Tournament in a way, but like I would also say no. Warhammer 40K I think was like the biggest like wow, this is in right now thing. But like I like the Pac-Man inclusion, I like the Mega Man inclusion, I like the Outer Worlds inclusion, but I feel like there was no like what was like the big definitive episode? There wasn't one. Like there could have been, and it could have been like as I turn around. Dude, hey, this would be great for Halo.
Right.
Great for Halo's
Well,
world.
and I guess you had to also realize, like, you got to get these companies to sign on to do this.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't think we'd
and
ever...
there are no Xbox IPs in
No,
here.
and I don't think we'd ever see, like, a Red Dead or anything on this, because that would involve Rockstar.
You can dream a little bit.
No, absolutely. But I think this kind of gives them...
is like the only Xbox adjacent IP. Everything else is...
Well, no, I'd say that's... I mean, it's their own now, so technically,
Yeah,
it's
but
an
like
Xbox
there's
IP.
a lot more PlayStation representation here.
For sure. I think this got picked up for season 2. I think this is so easily digestible that I can't help but recommend watch it just because, like,
Yeah.
even if you aren't going to like some of the episodes, they're 15 minutes of your time. And honestly, if you really don't like them from the beginning, skip it. You don't have to watch every single one.
Yeah.
I did kind of skip around on a few of these too, which
Oh, did you?
I always
Okay, I'll
appreciate
watch
on
them
an
in order.
anthology. It was only a couple of them. Most of them I did watch in order. But yeah, I think it's, a good waste, not a good waste, but a fun way to spend maybe an hour and a half, however much this all adds up to. They are interesting in and of themselves. I would like to see more notable IPs on the next round of seasons. And I think, having completed one, having a successful season under their belt gives them a little bit of leeway to go to more companies and be like, hey, want to do a little secret level?
Right.
Yeah, let's go.
Right.
Like, dude, I mean, they wouldn't do a secret level for Andy because there's movies for him. But I don't know, even like a Doom secret level or something like that, I think would be cool. I think there's definitely a lot of stuff there. But Gooch, anything else for secret level?
No, that definitely is it. Let's finish the game.
Let's finish the game. I actually am glad we kind of went through one by one like that because
Yeah.
I think we would have missed some shit or just completely forgot about some of them.
Yeah.
But thank you all for watching. If you've been with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we really do appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your platform of choice. We have a Facebook page, Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below. You can find us on all the social medias at Delco Nerds on basically anything with an @ sign. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to delconerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.
Right.